In today's video, we have a truly crazy one for you guys. We have not only our tropical depression now that you can see on screen here, the satellite imagery of, which looks very, very healthy, by the way. We can even see what looks to be potentially the beginning of eye wall development, which is insane. So we'll get into that in a minute. This is in our main development region, or MDR for short, that we've talked about over the years. And look, this is not supposed to happen in June. This is not supposed to happen in May, June, July, maybe August. This starts to happen, mid to late August. This is highly, highly unusual. And there really isn't any analogs to go based off of because of that. So that makes it extremely difficult to really, there is no history behind this type of a storm. This is unprecedented, and we're watching history in the making here. So very, very interesting stuff. As always, be sure to check out the trilogy maps in the description and pinned comment down below for the highest definition, most customizable maps anywhere on the internet. Let's get into things, and you can see this buzzsaw look, eye wall development, very healthy looking storm, clearly in a very rapid development stage. As we take a look here at the National Hurricane Center's cone forecast, you can see by later today they expect it to be a tropical storm, and by Wednesday, they expect this one to be a hurricane approaching the southern Caribbean. Potentially Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic in the crosshairs of this one. We need to see if this one will go north of those islands, if it'll hit those islands, or if it'll go south of those islands. That's very impactful differences, and we need to watch very closely. It's always important to note that over Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, and Haiti for that matter, we have very tall mountains. We know that land impacts hurricanes and tropical storms in a very, downgrading way. It really, really tends to downgrade these storms and weaken them. But especially in these mountainous islands, they are historically known for tearing up storms. So if we get a direct hit here, while it would be unfortunate, obviously, for those residents there, it would tear this storm up. Now, if the eye wall was to go north or south of these areas entirely, then you're looking at minimal impacts to the actual storm's intensity comparatively if it was to hit directly. So those are going to be really, really are things to watch here. You can see from Wednesday all the way through Saturday, they expect this one to be a hurricane, and really it's unknown what's going to happen after that. Now, I will say at the end of this video, we're going to be going over the spaghetti models and the intensity models and see all the solutions according to the European, GFS, and CMC models. So stay tuned for that, of course. Now, this video is not done with the surprises. As we take a look at our 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, you will notice our tropical depression 3 there. Not only that, though, we have a 40% chance of development right behind it. And now we're taking a look at another tropical cyclone developing right behind it. Is it June 19th or is it August 19th? Because we are really, really in unprecedented territory here, especially if we get a second development here in our main development region this early on. This hurricane season is not looking good, and we've talked about that actually for a few weeks now. As we take a look at that 2-day outlook, we could see that there is actually still a 30% chance of development there with that second cyclone behind our tropical depression 3. So this has some chance to develop within the next 2 days, but especially there over the next 7 days, we have a 40% chance as of now, which is nearly 50-50. And there is a good chance that this gets upgraded through time, so be sure to stay tuned with us daily as we'll be going over all of these things. We do upload every single day. Now, we're going to get into the regularly scheduled video segment here where we're going to go over, the normal lower 48 weather here, but we will get into those spaghetti models like I mentioned just in a minute. So stay tuned for that, or you can try to skip ahead to that, but we are going to be going over the tropics, even deeper diving into that. So stay tuned for that segment. As we keep going here, or as we get going, I guess, Monday, we do expect severe amounts of rainfall here for the southeast. There is some areas that I expect to see over 7 inches of rainfall. Kind of this area here is where we're eyeballing. Some more inland in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, areas like that. A lot of these areas in the southeast and mid-Atlantic, they average about 3 inches per month here in the summer. So for June, about 3 inches of rainfall. These areas could be seeing 2 to 3 times that amount in the next 10 days. Absolutely severe rainfall is on the way for these areas, and flooding is going to be a major concern alongside that. Now, as we reach Tuesday, we see this rainfall continues, and it's interesting. We've been talking about this for so many days in a row, finally seeing it come into fruition and just in a really severe way, unfortunately. Wednesday, the 21st, here we see this rainfall is still sitting over this southeast region, and that does not want to end anytime soon. By Thursday, the 22nd, we see this is still just hanging around. We have another area of storminess over the central states. So for the plains, the upper Midwest, some of the Rockies here, this is going to be another round of storms for you guys out there that have seen an extremely stormy spring and summer so far. So let's just keep this going. As we reach towards Friday, the 23rd here, we see not only is this rainfall still overhead for these areas, some of these days, by the way, in here is looking to be plain rainfall, just rainstorms. Other days within this model run looking to be more like thunderstorm activity. So there's going to be a plethora and a variety of weather types within this big massive storm. And it just depends on what day it is, the temperatures, etc. But rainfall is just going to be persistent, and unfortunately that is going to add up. So we'll take a look at the total rainfall in a minute. We see the kind of northern Rockies here, and then the upper Midwest here dealing with this rainfall and thunderstorm activity by Friday the 23rd. By Saturday the 24th, we see this continue, and actually we get an organized low here over South Dakota associated with all of this rainfall. And then look at the East Coast, still dealing with the persistent rainfall by Saturday the 24th. By Sunday the 25th here, we see the continuation here of this rainfall up and down the East Coast, thunderstorm activity alongside rainfall, and potentially tropical impacts coming up. So this is just looking to be a very rainy period for them. Over Minnesota, we do have this organized low, slowly but surely heading kind of like northeastward here, or about southeastward actually by this point. By Monday the 26th, we see this has dived down into the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. We still see the storminess we were seeing over the east, but now this is kind of taking aim at that region as well to make matters worse. And by Tuesday, we see still persistent rainfall. That marks 8 days in a row, I think, of rainfall here for the southeast and the east in general. And then by Wednesday, we see our 9th day in a row, and now associated with this low that was over the upper Midwest. Meanwhile, this is the end of the model run, but we do have another stronger low developing up here for the northwest and south, or north central, and that could be our next threat for big time storms across the central United States and perhaps eventually the eastern United States. So a lot of impacts due to these storms, and it's just going to add up to insane totals. Here's the total rainfall. I mean, see, really, there's just two areas to mainly note. We see here in the northern plains, and then we see here for the southeast especially, but also for all the way up into the northeast and parts of the Ohio Valley, insane amounts of rainfall. And actually, I'm going to do something I usually don't do. I'm going to zoom us into the east to show you what I was talking about, but this is that 7 to 8, even 9-inch region here over portions of South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. The blues even being 10 inches plus. So severe amounts of rainfall, and that could add up and cause flooding. Some of these areas have seen inches of rainfall over the past week as well, which makes matters even worse. So severe rainfall on the way for these parts. Now, total snowfall, as you can see, we still expect snowfall out west as this kind of very cold June and cold summer in general continues. The temperature pattern really looks unchanged. We do see a warm up heading eastward, but we see that the cold hangs on to the east coast as we've talked about over the past few days. This is by the 27th that we see the cold temperatures continuing. And really what we see is a regression of the warmth back towards the west, which will be more indicative of a positive PNA pattern. So we put a plus here, and this would encourage more cold air to move into the east. So all the way through early July, we're expecting cooler temperatures in the east. And I'm not going to lie, it has been very pleasant. I mean, the hot days have been like 85 here in Virginia. Typically, it's much more like upper 80s, lower 90s. We haven't even seen 90s since May here in Virginia. And usually you're seeing like 10 90s within each summer month. So we should be seeing so many more 90 days. But we've only seen like one this year. And it was in the springtime, actually. So very, very unusual, as we've mentioned before. Now, this is the part of the video where we're going to get back into the tropics. Taking a look at the spaghetti models, this is going to be actually all your individual models. So this is just all sorts of different models, unrelated, so this is not an ensemble forecast. And as I kind of just draw a cone of what these would suggest, There is a large group that do take this kind of northern curvature here at this part. As you can see, I'd say about 50% of the models curve it north of the Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic area. And these ones want to almost curve back, which would be probably the least impactful solution in there. We do see that there's a very large group as well, though, that take it either south of Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico or direct hit. And if the storm could survive that, it would be heading towards the Caribbean, potentially here in the southeast coast, bringing impacts. So that would be the much more impactful solution. Both are on the table at this point, and I think we're going to see a lot of coming together over the next 24 hours. And by tomorrow's video, when we take a look at this, I expect us to have a lot more of a clear view. So be sure to tune in tomorrow. That's going to be a big time video coming up. Now, here is for the next one, the other one in the middle of the Atlantic that has just developed, and we see this one looks to maybe follow suit. I know there's a wide variety, but we do have 2 out of 4, or maybe even 3 out of 4 here. I don't know what's going on here, but heading towards that same region. So we're going to be watching very closely for that one. Now, the European ensemble model group, we see only 3 members taking it to the northern Caribbean and out to sea solutions. So that's Bermuda right there. That's very, very out to sea. A majority here take this into the southern Caribbean as a weaker storm. We don't even see any of these really developing into a hurricane. That's mostly this northern solution we're seeing more major development. So this would be interesting to say the least, but usually this area, and I'm talking about this area here where it moves through, is very, very bad for tropical development, and we usually see these storms weaken over this area. So a wide variety of solutions and options here of what could potentially take place. Now, the GFS ensemble model group, we could see a little bit more of these turning northward. I'd say about half of them. So it's a lot more like that individual model group we took a look at a minute ago. We do see a large group as well, though, going pretty close to what that European model was showing. And then we see these in-betweeners is what we'll call them. But these ones head much more towards the Caribbean and would be bringing potential impacts to that southeast coast. So there is a lot of solutions on the table, like we've mentioned. And then your Canadian model, take this one with a grain of salt. This is not known for being a tremendous tropical model whatsoever. We have quite a few out-to-sea solutions here. And then we have these taking much more of that path that the European and some of those GFS models were showing. So hopefully there is some clarity here that you could take away, but honestly, it is all over the place, and pretty much anything is possible at this point. So I wish I could be telling you exactly what I think is going to happen, but anything is on the table right now. And I do, like I said earlier, think that over the next 24, even 48 hours, we're going to see a lot of coming together and a lot more clarity in these spaghetti models. Stay tuned for that for sure. Here's the intensity guidance, and as you can see, there is a group of models here that take us nowhere near hurricane status. We mostly actually just see a tropical storm and then weakening. But the majority here do take us towards Category 1, and as far high up as actually Category 4 on one of these models. And that's the only one that actually takes us into Category 3 status either, so that one is just way further intense than the rest. The majority here are somewhere between Category 1 and Category 2 status at the peak. So that is going to be kind of the middle ground here at this point. Somewhere between this and this maybe. So I would say weak Category 1. Stronger tropical storm status is the very, very mean average of all of these. So we're gonna have to see. These tend to move around quite a bit, and we could over the next 24 hours see this either drop really far down or climb really high here. There could be a lot of changes coming up in this, and we need to watch it very, very closely. But again, we're in unprecedented territory. The models are probably having a harder time because of that as well, because they do use historical data also. And this is going to be an interesting one to track with you guys. Very hard to predict, and we're going to try our best over here. So again, be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day, and we're going to be going over this until it is no longer a threat. So be sure to do that. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.